Shalom and welcome to my long commute driving home from work. Hope everyone's been well. Yes, it's Hakam Yara ben-Emmett. How should you best understand and interpret the 5 books of Moshe or the Torah? I like to think of it this way. Probably direct opposite of most rabbinites. Consider the United States of America. We have 50 states, right? Well, we have the Bill of Rights, right? We have the U.S. Constitution. Well, in all 50 states, you have different individualistic constitutions and bylaws and things like that, too. So representation of that, and every state is differentiated based on its culture and its founding fathers and so on, etc., etc. So looking at the Torah, think of the Torah as equivocated to the U.S. Constitution. Incidentally, the U.S. Constitution is based in part on the 10 Commandments and understanding that all men and all women, everyone, is created equally through the image of God. Well, with that being said, if the U.S. Constitution is the Torah, what are the 50 states' representation of the U.S. Constitution and their purview and their various 50 shades of gray or interpretations? Well, welcome to the Mishnah Torah. Welcome to the Talmud tractates and all the different varieties and vast array of opinions and debates and discussions. Literally, in the United States, we have a Supreme Court that rules certain things, say in the state of Maine, that it's unconstitutional based on the Founding Fathers' intent if you're not ruling at the bench. But when it comes to the final rule of arbitration, which should be the Torah, and again, the Torah and the Talmud are not the same thing, even though most rabbinates, most Orthodox, especially ultra-Orthodox, view when you go to yeshiva, for instance, you're learning the Torah. Well, not so much. I've been to yeshiva, and I can tell you, they teach you the Talmud, they teach you the Mishnah Torah, and they teach you all of that, and it's all useful and good stuff. It's part of our Jewish tradition and culture, but it's not halakha. It's a form of halakha, just like Maine's Supreme Court their so-called state representatives, they cannot overrule what the Supreme Court has ruled to be true based on the U.S. Constitution, which again equivocates to the Torah. The difference between Karaite Jews and rabbinates is simple. We don't need a separate constitution of interpretation to explain what Moses commanded the Jewish people of his time 3,500 years ago. For instance, we're getting ready to celebrate the Hag for Shavuot. Incidentally, that's the 24th of May, not this week, according to the rabbinate schedule, because we're always on the morrow after Shabbat. That's just how we do it, because it's based on the Torah, not based on the Constitution in Maine or Florida or Texas or Oregon or Washington State. It's just not based on that. Why is it so nonsensical for most people to believe? Now, to be human is to be imaginative, right? To be innovative. And between 3 Jews, you have 3 different opinions, right? Well, what is God's opinion? I hear Rabbi Tovia Singer saying all the time with his debates with Christians, God love him. What is God's opinion? I don't care what Rabbi Akiva's opinion was. I really don't. I have read Rabbi Ramban and Rashi and Johannes and many, many others over a period of time. The so-called masters of Hasidim. All of this, I understand what they say, and they got books and books to the zillion out all of this. You know how thick my Siddur is for Ka'ite? For Ka'idism? They're about this small. We don't have big libraries of books based on different Hakams over a period of time, like our Hakam Anan around the 8th and 9th century. We have some writings about him, historical or bibliographical in intent, but we don't have a lot of writings. I have a book that talks about how to sacrifice an animal, how to kill a cow, how many veins or arteries do you cut. You know, it's differentiated between Karaite Jews and rabbinical Jews based on opinion. But even if it's a custom or tradition handed down hundreds of years, 1,000 years, you know, we were in Egypt for 1,000 years, and Karaite Judaism dates all the way back to the 8th and 9th century. Even if those customs are handed down generation to generation, Lador Vador per se, they're just tradition, but they will never ever add or subtract from our one founding father, Moshe, and the prophets of blessed memory from the 5 books of the Torah. So you understand, the U.S. Constitution, Supreme Court is the heavenly court, right? They arbitrate all the different discussions for 50 states on constitutionality, per se. Some things are ruled constitutional, a lot of things are ruled unconstitutional that the states come up with, that different Congress members over a period of time at the federal and state government come up with, and different presidents and executive orders and things. It goes on and on. Welcome to the world of rabbinical Judaism and all the many isms of yeshivas throughout the world, where they have different dynasties, different governors, and Chabadniks and all that. God bless you. I love you all. But just understand, it's maddening when you think about all the different opinions and gyrations of interpretations of the Torah. It really is. The biggest difference between Karaiteism and rabbinical Judaism is that we obey the Torah. There's no need for a religious argument. They're really not. Someone asked me, is Judaism about a religion? Not really, no. It's about marching to God's drum as a soldier, right? Obeying God as much as is humanly possible. Of course we compromise. We're living in the diaspora. That's the biggest of compromises, in my opinion, that you live every day, because you cannot keep all the 613 mitzvot. That is a compromise, and you're always going back to God in teshuvah and prayer and saying, please forgive me for being a hypocrite. That's pretty much what it is. But the way out is Ezekiel chapter 18, verses 20 to 23. Give charity. Give charity, especially in the diaspora, to make up for all the things that if you were a tribal Jew in Israel, living astutely by the Torah, nothing else, and had a temple and sacrificial offerings where you would be upright and honest before God and astutely and worshiping God as the King of the universe, as what we should worship Him. That's why when we pray, we bow on our knees. We bow on our knees, and that trembling knee of fear before God is very true in the life of Karaite Judaism. Take care. Hakam Yara Ben-Emmett signing on until next time. God bless you. Shalom Aleichem.